Good afternoon, everyone. Today we're in Utica, Michigan, and we're going to check out something old and historic today related to the automotive industry. We're here at the site of the Packard Motor Company Proving Grounds. And if you don't know, Packard Motor Company was the luxury car maker of all luxury car makers back in the 20s and 30s, second only to the really well-known names like Duesenberg and Cord. But Packard was like the Cadillac, right up there, probably ahead of Cadillac and Lincoln with their quality and their reputation. And in 1928, they opened the Packard Proving Grounds, where they would test the vehicles that they had produced. And we'll show you a little bit about it here. A little history sign we've got here. It shows the 2.5-mile high-speed racetrack, along with miles and miles of trails and hills and valleys and different coursework they do. The unveiling of the proving grounds here with some of their cars shown, like a big car show back in the day. And an artist conception rendering here of what the place looked like in the day. And you can see some airplanes flying overhead. That's because Packard was also heavily involved in building airplanes. Now let's take a look and check out the goodness of history that we have here. As I say, this was opened in 1928. The building, which is really, really cool, was designed by Albert Kahn, a very famous architect who's done a lot of historic buildings in Detroit back in the 1920s and 30s. And I guess this is an English Cotswold style, they called it. It included a caretaker's cottage and dormitory rooms above the garage for visiting engineers and dignitaries to stay in, as well as an airplane hangar, a huge water tower back there that says Packard Proving Grounds on it, and some other garage-type buildings. A really ornate gateway going in, too. But we're going to get back in the car, and we're going to drive inside and have a look around. Some more history about the place. Packard went through some bad times. You know, the economy went downhill for the super luxury car market, and what ended up happening was this 560 acres was leased to Chrysler Corporation during World War II to test their tanks and develop military vehicles. All right, here we're pulling in, and later, after Packard ended up going broke, they sold a look at the amazingly cool, the gateway here. There's another little sign showing the Packard Motor Company. But it ended up in 1961, Ford Motor Company purchased this property from Packard. It looks like they got a wedding going on here today in one of the old garage buildings. Here's one of the old garage buildings. Alright, look at that. Yep, pretty cool. And then a shed, probably one of the old original sheds out back there with the wooden doors on it and the cool looking windows and that. That's pretty nice. Look at that. Let me get the window down here. There's a little sign there on the side of that one that says Genuine Packard Service. Here we go. Driving along. And I love the water tower. I just absolutely love the old water tower. It still has the Packard logo on it. So, this is quite amazing here. I love old things like this. Most of the 560 acres of property has been sold off years ago. Ford Land Development sold it off. They donated a little bit of it to the city. They've preserved this as a park. Here it shows the World War II era when they used it as a proving grounds for tanks. Ford also had a large factory on the far back corner of the property back here where there's a subdivision now. It was called Utica Trim. They made interior door panels, seats, and such for cars. It was quite a big operation. And let's see, there's one of the old hangar buildings for airplanes right there. Packard was really big in the development of airplanes and aircraft. They were on with a company called Wright Curtis. And here's a little identifying plaque about that. Charles Lindbergh actually visited here in 1929, flying a Stinson Flyer. That's pretty cool. I did not know that either. Alright, there's the hangar building. Over here on the other side, we have what we call a timing tower. And that was where the engineers would time cars going around the high-speed track. And the actual runway was right through here where the subdivision, basically where the subdivision is here now, is where the airport runway used to go through. We're going to actually drive out onto the old runway. A little bit of what's left of it. Runway right here. We're on the old runway from the Packard Proving Grounds, and this is pretty darn cool. I'm going to loop around, go back out through the gate. Like I say, they really don't have that much property here set aside for the museum, but what they do have left is very interesting, especially if you are into the history of Packard Motor Company and old cars. So let's see. Oh, here's a shot of, oh, this is iconic, that Packard right there on the test track. And then it actually shows the timing room here and the water run, and oh, this is just really cool. The 2.5 mile oval had a 31-degree bank curve that allowed high-speed car testing. After winning that year's Indy 500 race, car driver Leon Duryea drove his Miller Special to a record lap of 148 miles an hour on this track. The timing stat on the east end of the track provided observation areas for timing and other test measurements. Miles of off-road courses and paved areas challenged Packard automobiles under pounding conditions, including sand traps, railroad ties, water baths, and hill climbing. And just as an aside, this area of the state, being home to much of the automotive industry, just about 10 miles straight north of here is the current Ford Motor Company Proving Grounds at Romeo. GM has its proving grounds on the other side of Metro Detroit, over in a little town called Milford, and Chrysler is also over on the west side in a town called Chelsea, which is by Ann Arbor. But that's one of the cool things about Southeast Michigan. If you're a car guy, is all the great automotive history we have here, and it you can check out and find out the history of very easily. But there's one more look at the engineering and service garages here at the Packard plant, and I just love the old style buildings with the roof on that is actual slate stone roofs, which I think is pretty cool too. All right, and of course the English style main garage building there. All right, well, I hope you've enjoyed this little tour of the Packard Proving Grounds in Utica, Michigan. Thanks for stopping by today. Please click and subscribe. Check out my other videos. Maybe give me a thumbs up. Thanks for watching.